All right, here's a quick bearded garage video. So last night about 11:30, my son's friend called. He's got a 2008 Hyundai Sonata. It was chunking and bumping down the road, but as soon as the check engine light started blinking, he pulled over and turned the car off and called. So good kid. He's learned that after working in here for years. So one of the things I learned here is once you buy a lift, pretty much everybody brings their car over. So I've been the local guy for a while now. So this morning we brought it in, pulled it in the garage, ran a quick scan. I use this new scan tool I just bought called Blue Driver. It's a USB version. I actually like this better than my older Matco. So if you want, I can put a link below for Blue Driver. It actually gives me more information than my Matco does, particularly because it'll scan and give me ABS codes. Now, that's not really relevant for here, but it's just convenient because it's a small little tool. So it tells me I got a code P0301, which is cylinder 1 misfire. So we're going to assume this is cylinder 1. Not sure what's causing a misfire. So probably a plug. It's probably a coil pack, one of the two. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to diagnose this quick. We don't want him driving it anymore, at least until we figure out what it is. So last night he turned the car off and then basically just turned it on a little while later. The light stayed on. He drove it home and then came over this morning to get a checkup. So we'll see what's going on, see if we can diagnose the problem and kind of walk you through our thought process. Now, so we've already pulled it in, opened the hood, taken the plastic off the top, and scanned the car. So we kind of know it's going to be something right in here. That's what we're suspecting. Probably, I'm going to guess a coil pack. So I'll show you how I diagnose that. And here's what the manual says for cylinder location. All right, silly me. After taking a look, unfortunately, this is not, this is cylinder 2, and this is cylinder 4. So cylinder 1 is actually back there. So in order to do this test, that's not going to be very valuable. So I now have to take this whole intake manifold off. So I guess I'm going to walk you through how to do that. So went from a 10-minute job to a 2-hour job. So first thing, in order to get this apart, there's actually a bunch of cables and connections. I undid this here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Also got to undo these 2. They're similar in the back. There's a bar that sits here. This bar is just what the engine cover goes on. So I just pull this stuff up out of the way. These are much longer. They go down underneath. I believe there's more. So there's a couple of bolts down in there we need to take out as well. All right, so down underneath here, we're gonna have to take a couple of these bolts out. We'll have to take, I believe, the throttle body here, air box. So I'll take all these hoses off, unfortunately. I'm gonna slowly walk you through the pieces as I take them apart and as I put them back together. Unfortunately, there's a lot of these connectors, and I always hate these damn things. So I'll see what I can actually leave together by unbolting them and bolting them back later. So I think it'll be pretty easy, but we'll see. All right, the air box comes out quite easy. There's a clip here, there's a clip here, there's a clip here, and then there's one stuck down in here. All you've got to do then is undo this screw connecting to the throttle body, and you can actually pull most of it off. Then we just got to worry about these 2 extra hoses and 2 extra cables. So we'll disconnect those and set this up out of the way. Next step, in order to pull the manifold, I got to get this back. In order to get it back, I could disconnect all these wires, or I could just unbolt them. There's 2 bolts here, 2 bolts here, and they kind of swing out of way with this metal bracket here. So everything just kind of swings out the way. So now I can get to the bolts I need underneath. Next is going to be the throttle body. I want to say there's 4 bolts in the throttle body. Looks like 4. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 down underneath right there. So we'll take that off and swing that out of the way as well. All right, quick note, as you take the throttle body off, the 3 bolts on the top that I just showed you are 10mm. In fact, everything we've done so far is 10mm. The bolt on the bottom underneath that throttle body is a 12. So So just pay attention to that. And I didn't mention it before. I meant to. When I'm doing this type of work, I already disconnected the battery terminal. the negative battery terminal. So I believe after this, the next step is there's a bolt there that you can see. And I think there is one. So that one is going to be a 12 if I remember. And I think in order to get this apart, you're going to need this bolt here. So that is right there, right? And I think that's a 14. We're just taking that off of, I think that's the last piece that holds it on, and then we can pull everything off. And then I'll just take these two electrical pieces and we can pull them to the side. All right, I just undid the two bolts in the back, the one here and the one on the end I was showing you a minute ago. You gotta disconnect this. I will tell you that manifold won't come off without that. So in order to do that, there's a wire here, right? Just you have to pry up on the tab here to pull it out. The second is you can try to undo any of these hoses, but I'll tell you the easiest one is actually plastic on plastic up here, rubber on plastic. So pull this piece off and then just slide it off the end of this nipple. It should be pretty easy. Then you can fold that out of the way. Okay. Down here there were, I believe, 5 in the front. So there's a nut on there, there's a bolt in there, a bolt there, a bolt there, and a nut there. So the front of the manifold, that you got to take all those off as well. I think we're pretty close where this, yeah, so it just about lifts off. So I think that's it. If there's anything else, I'll point it out. And it'll always get you. The last one is actually a hose here. So this hose actually goes right there. So I just disconnected that, and now the whole thing should come off. I should be able to just pull everything out. It just slowly works out from under here, I hope. Let's see if I can grab this whole thing here. Oh, yes. Yes, you can. Now we can get all the way back to those cylinders. Here we go. Well, this is our part. We are going to be doing the spark plugs as well. You got a 10 mil here. All right, and undo that. And then you actually put a flathead screwdriver right in there, and you can pop that end off. So once we unscrew this, my fat fingers. Pull the, looks pretty good. Shoot spark plug down in there. So actually this is one of my favorite tools. One of my favorite tools here. I picked this up for the Porsche. It is, I believe, it's a gear wrench. Maybe a 5/8 gear wrench. But it's a magnetic spark plug removal tool. Nothing special, but it makes it really easy when you're doing the Porsche job. So get these on down here and try to pull them out, see what we got inside. Nice and slow. This one's a little stubborn, huh? There we go. Oh, think it's rusty in the block there? I don't know. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, look at that oxidation on that bad boy. Sweet. Okay. All right, putting the spark plug back in. You can see I have put a little bit of anti-seize on the end of it because of the oxidation on it before. I don't know if you can see that in the light. Oh, that's great. Focus. Anyway, the whole point is when you put it on, just put it on the threads. If you get it down on this end piece, I believe this stuff is conductive, so you'll actually screw up the spark plug. So I like to slide them down in. I don't like to connect the ratchet right away until I'm sure that the thread seat. I don't want to cross-thread it. If you cross-thread it, you're going to cry when you have to yank it out and do something else with the block. I don't have to deal with that. So, all right, now she's tight, or tight enough to put the ratchet on. Give her a little bit of oomph. That's good enough for me. Wiggle her off there. Now we're going to slide the coil pack back down, put the bolt on, and snap that in place. All right, we're going to repeat that for the rest of them. All right, the spark plugs coming out of 1 and cylinder 3 actually had oil all over them. In fact, the entire, what the hell do you call that thing? Ignition coil was actually covered in oil as well. So interesting. I'll just show you a quick peek down in there to take a look at where that coil pack came out. All right, I got everything back together. I replaced all 6 spark plugs. So we started this job today because there was a misfire on cylinder 1. Cylinder 1 is here. So when we pulled all the coil packs, we actually tested them for resistance, and they all had about the same. So I'm not sure if that was actually the problem. So we figured while we're in here, replace the spark plugs anyway, because this was a pain to get off. So what I did then, rather than replacing the coil pack there, is I figured I can test it pretty easy by taking the coil pack that was back on 1 and putting it in 2. So now this is the original coil pack. Worst case scenario, I put this all back together. I start it up, I get a misfire on cylinder 2, then I replace that one. Save myself $100 on the coil pack. So that's where we're at. Hopefully we won't have to take this thing back apart. The guy at Napa though said part of the problem, there was some oil on this one and this one when we pulled it out, the coil pack itself, which could be caused by maybe a blow-by. He said potentially a blow-by in the intake gasket. I don't know if he meant on this side. So what I did is I pulled all these out and cleaned them. So pulled these little gaskets out here, right, and pulled them apart, just cleaned them all, put them all back in. That one's still got to go back in. And we'll just assemble them and see how it goes, see if it gets any better. So this is how we're attempting to debug what a misfire was. So I guess it's one of 3 or 4 things, but we threw spark plugs at it, and we'll see if it's a coil pack here soon. All right, putting this all back together is just the reverse of what it was on taking it out. I didn't show it here because it's pretty simple. Because we disconnected the battery, all of the engine codes were actually gone. So we had to drive it about 60 miles before everything would scan fine with the OBD2 scanner. And looks like all the misfires are gone. P0301 is done, so that's perfect. As you can see, it's running great. It actually sounds great. And this car is perfect now. Thanks for tuning in. Smash that like button and hit subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks a lot.